The government needs to use directed energy weapons to burn us out of the place where I currently live. The heat here has been tremendous. In the year 2016, the highest temperature peaked at 112 in the summer. In 2017, it was 115. This year, it had peaked at 118. But such a high temperature only lasts for a day or two. Question is, can they modify the weather through HAARP? There is a heat wave happening all over the world, while they preach global warming. You people thought you were so clever when you were debunking global warming that you sure dealt them a black eye for trying to pull that hoax. Except you didn't think they could control the weather, did you? You didn't think they could dissolve clouds and create drought and affect the ozone layer and the ionosphere to generate record temperatures all over the earth. As I have said, the Jews have always been one penis thrust ahead. What are you global warming deniers going to say when they put up a bunch of charts showing yearly temperature increases all over the globe? Of course, global warming is not real, but if they can control the weather, then they can create artificial global warming. Climate change is essential to pushing the sustainability agenda and such in order to enslave humanity. These people have always created crises and false flags and then pushed draconian legal regulations to solve the problem. But anyway, the biome I live in is very unpleasant. There is no forest where the trees can provide shade and privacy. And 10 years of living in this is enough. The only way we can be dislodged out of this biome and head elsewhere is for a disaster to wipe out the actual house we are renting. There are fires burning all over the world now. Fires burning in the Arctic Circle. Forest fires that will burn rows of parked cars down a street in the middle of the city like it happened in Greece. Forest fires that involve impossible hurricane-force winds that uproot and knock down trees. Forest fires that will burn rows of houses down a street but will leave the forest on the edges untouched. Forest fires that will cut a house in a straight line. Forest fires that will burn one isolated house without burning the forest around it. I think it's about time the psychopaths who run the world attacked the place where I live with these directed energy weapons. After all, people where I live have been violating all kinds of government codes and stuff, building a pond without permits and such. I am hoping the directed energy weapon attack comes this year when the winds kick up in October. They could start sweeping the laser halfway up the mountain above us, and then the wind blowing down the mountain will carry the embers toward the house, although they could laser the house itself directly. I don't know if they're going to care about using the technology to destroy only 3 or 4 houses, but from their perspective, it's not a bad idea to punish the people that live here. After all, as you can see by this YouTube channel, one of them is a white supremacist who is wise to all the crimes of the Jewish tribe, and he deserves to be punished by the Jewish tribe for teaching himself about their crimes. In preparation for the coming wildfire, that's going to wipe us out. It is essential that within the next month or two, 200,000 people buy my Impact and Dance of Death James Grider novels on Amazon. 200,000 multiplied by $2.25, that's going to give me a lot of money, almost $500,000. Imagine I could walk away with that kind of money. Now I need to explain another agenda behind these super fires that are burning all over. Look at the explanation for the car fire. Apparently a car got a flat tire, and I guess the rim scraped the asphalt, creating sparks, and the sparks lit the fire. A fire that could not be put out. A fire that destroyed hundreds of homes. Car fire was caused by a car. Haha. So they apparently they're telling us that we are one flat tire, or one dropped cigarette, or one escaped barbecue coal away from a disaster that can wipe out 1,000 homes and even kill 12 people. Those forests, I guess, are as flammable as a pool of gasoline. Really, that's what it is. You're living in a pile of tinder where you're one spark away from a major disaster. Forests where people have lived before without electricity, or before there was electricity, and everyone used fireplaces and cooked with fire. And yet back then, these forests didn't burn like this. So now expect the psychopaths running the world to come to you and ask you and say, you wouldn't live in a pool of gasoline, would you? So why live in a forest that is apparently just as flammable? So here's the agenda. These artificial fires are not only created to displace people and create further poverty and homelessness and try to push people to live in the smart cities that will soon be developed. It is also to create justification for keeping humans out of wilderness areas. So we're all trapped in cities where all our moves are monitored 24/7, where they can kill us anytime they wish. You see the Agenda 2030 Wildlife Corridors map? The areas in red are designated as areas for little to no human activity. Don't you think that down the road, somewhere they can say, we have to isolate these forests and not allow people in there and not allow people to live in rural areas, because the fake global warming has created conditions where the slightest spark can generate an unstoppable superfire that can burn thousands of homes. Doesn't that indicate that a forest is such a hazardous, unsafe area that no unsupervised human being can be trusted to tread upon it? Because, after all, it simply takes a spark on the road from a flat tire. If that's so, then how can we allow people to live and drive in these places, these wildlife conservation areas? People and the planet will be safer if people are segregated into a smart megacity, and they are not allowed to enter wilderness areas at all unless supervised, or they're some kind of a government employee that manages the area. Don't you see the agenda? Don't you see what's going on? If all it takes is a spark to create a major disaster, then how can human beings be allowed to live in these areas and be left to their own devices? You see how they're going to bring up this argument in the future in order to lock down wilderness areas and make it illegal for you to trespass there. You will not be able to escape their mass surveillance grid because it will be illegal for you to camp in the woods. It will be illegal for you to build a compound in a rural area. If you have children, you won't be able to keep your children out of the smart city because by law they have to go to school. So any off-the-grid living will result in you violating laws that will call for your arrest and give the government the right to kill you if you don't comply. See, a spark in reality is not going to create a catastrophic fire. Try firing off a spark at a pile of dry grass. Even with flint, specifically designed for lighting campfires, it takes several tries to light the grass on fire. So the chances of a wheel rim of a car scraping the road when a tire goes flat and have a spark shoot off just right to set the grass on fire are almost astronomical. And when it does happen legit, the worst you ever see is some burnt grass on the side of the road. A fire truck pulls up, they douse the burn area with a fire extinguisher, and that's that. Burning grass is not going to be hot enough for that fire to start climbing up a huge, fat pine tree. But facts like this will not matter. What they are telling you is a spark from a small accident created a gigantic fire that in reality is not natural and would require technology like lasers fired from a drone in the sky to achieve. But that doesn't matter. Their narrative will be that it's too hazardous to allow human beings to live in rural areas. But anyway, the whole point of this video is to ask the government to burn up the place where I live, to burn down the house, and to burn down my dad's business, so we can get the hell out of this desert, because that's the only way we'll be able to ever leave the place. There was a time when, to go out for a walk, I would do it at 9 p.m. in the summer, when it got dark, which is ridiculous. I should be able to go for a walk at any time of day, not toward sunset, not just after dark. I should not have to be trapped in some kind of no man's land of heat, where you can't go for a walk during the day. 100-degree heat does a better job of keeping you inside than a snowstorm or a blizzard would in the winter up north. So enough of this. The place has to go.